welcome to the webinar, Dangerous or Misunderstood, the story of Dash. You guys will determine by the end of it. It's up to Isabelle Chandler, who's with us tonight, with Jasper. We always have to mention Jasper the bird. He is here. He will not let Izzy do a webinar without him. And of course, my name is Dr. Shelley Appleton. So let's get going. Now, I have released one poll. Hang on to that. You're about to find out what that's all about. Okay, so let me just do a share screen. I am now just got to move things around on my screen to be able to get to the button. All right, Dangerous or Misunderstood, the story of Dash and what every off-the-track thoroughbred or standardbred owner needs to know. Okay, so meet Dash. Okay, Izzy, tell us about Dash on the track.
So, Dashing Badger was his name. Dashing he couldn't really do. He had 27 starts for only one win, and his one win was actually as an 80-1 shot on his 20th start. So he had actually a little bit of notoriety for a day or two after that, because it's very rare for a horse to actually win a race paying 80-1.
Yeah,
But
wow.
that was pretty much his one and only flash in the pan, and he was retired not long after that.
All right. Now, he was tired from racing with a warning label. Am I
Yeah.
correct?
So they can come off the track with a warning for bad behaviour. So his bad behaviour was the warnings for at the track. So, if they're bad at the track, then it has to be fairly decent for them to actually get a warning, because they're obviously disrupting things at the races.
Yeah, okay. Now, this is some real cool insight. So this is a photograph of Dash. There's the only two photographs that appear of him on the internet. Now, this is a bit of a tip off about the gear he's wearing, Izzy, and how that can tip you off that he may have been trouble. Tell us some more.
So these are called pacifiers, these bug eyes that he's wearing.
So these,
Essentially,
yeah.
it's hard mesh, which pacifies the horse. Because of that mesh, they can't see, a lot of what's going on. It takes everything a bit out of focus. And it's very good for horses that shy or pull or are quite difficult. It just tones everything down. They tend to not use these as much now. Now you'll see them often wearing earmuffs instead. But the
Mhm.
same thing, if you see a horse wearing those, it's generally because they're trying to just dull everything down a bit and take the reactiveness out of them. So if you do a bit of a stalk of a horse you're thinking of getting online and see any photos of them, it will tell you things about what bit they're wearing, what gear they're wearing, will kind of tell you how they are, in general as a horse.
Yes, no, so good tips there. Okay, so here we have Dash. So Dash was retired. So Izzy, do you want to tell us his story of when he came off the track
So
and what
yeah,
his issues were?
he came off the track to a home, not sure what happened there, went to rehoming at a different farm to where I was working. They rehomed him to a girl who didn't have him for very long. She admitted that he was more horse than she can handle, so she gave him back, and he then came to the farm where I was doing the retrainers, because we're a bit more on the retraining side rather than just sort of checking they're okay and moving them on.
Mm.
Um, and I really loved him, but he was a middle-aged plain bay gelding, which is not flashy enough for most people. He was quite difficult. He was very particular. He was very testing of everybody, especially on the ground. If you tied him up near another horse, he would sort of act like a stallion. And he bucked and had a very violent no his first reaction every time you asked him something. but I did know there was a good horse underneath, and so I knew that really we were gonna struggle to get him a home that was gonna understand him, so he came home with me.
All righty. Okay, so now we're going to have a little bit of a snapshot of Dash's behavior caught on film. And after we watch these two, the first one is here. Uh, Izzy, what had upset Dash here?
A horsefly. Dash has, like, a complete and utter intolerance, or especially in the beginning, of flies, horseflies, little tiny things that bite him. And it was one horsefly when I was taking his rug off, and I got rid of it. And then this is the carry on afterwards. He just couldn't, he couldn't cope with the little things.
Yeah, and but that's a stallion
And
on
that's a
that other
stallion in
side.
the yard there as well. So
Yeah, so
it's
it's
just
been a bit,
everything was.
everything was too much. Now, I think looking at this, you're doing some serious wrangling here, but I know you travel around the world doing yearling sales. This is just a minor inconvenience to you to wrangle this, isn't it?
Yeah, like, he's being strong, but no, I wouldn't say I was ever worried about losing control.
Yeah, and this is the thing that we have lots of cool conversations about because there's Izzy's perception in the world, and then there's the mere mortals like me. And you can just see that you got complete control of that. But that I know would me, if I looked at myself 20 years ago, that would freak me out. That would be really terrifying to deal with a horse like that. So everyone just have a look at this. So this is Dash's potential behavior, what he could do on the ground. Now, now where and we can see Izzy's skills on display there of being able to wrangle that. Now we have what Dash could do under saddle. Let's have a look, everybody. So he could buck. So he could buck. Now you can we'll just let that play a few times, and people can reflect about how he was on the ground and how he was under saddle, what he could do, and you can have you can fill out that poll that I've launched. Like, how confident would you feel dealing with Dash's behavior? And just for the record, if I left on the audio, you would have heard Izzy laughing. So he did this. And you can actually see if we watch it again, it's actually very impressive to see Izzy's seat. Like, even though you lose a stirrup, your legs do not move. You were very great. You can see yourself grounded there in the saddle. It's a very good demonstration of a very good seat. And also, you do something else then, don't you, Izzy? You keep his head up. That was
Yeah.
instinctual for you because what would have happened if you put your hands up there and you get keep his head up? What would have happened, do you think, if you got his head down?
So if he gets his head down between his knees, then he really goes, and then it's almost impossible to stop them after that happens.
Yeah. So interesting, guys. Fill out the poll for us now, and because I'd really love to have your thoughts. More evidence for me to make Isabelle. Isabelle needs a lot of reminding that she comes from a life or a perspective that is different than most people's. But I'd
And I
love
think,
to know what you think.
yeah,
Yes, Izzy.
I think there too, this is, when we talk about that missing link, this is the problem, is this is the retrainers
Mm,
um, dealing with these horses and not quite realizing the difference between that and, say, somebody like you were before you started horse training,
yes.
that it's not like, whoops, probably shouldn't have done that. That's actually, something that can really, like, ruin your confidence.
Yeah, really,
Um,
yeah. And because, there's a lot of these horses, and if you're just looking at the percentage of people that can handle that, that's not many, and we've got more horses than that. So it's also getting an idea of, where we need the horses to be rehomed. And or what you and I are into, which is giving people those skills to be able to stop that from happening in the first place, which is what we're going to tell the story about. So that's what Dash could do. Now I'm just going to stop share screening for a bit. I'd love to know. I'm just looking here. So far, we got 11% on completely terrified. Going up, we've got another 11% on just one more than that. So actually, I can say there we go. There we got 60%. 60% now on 2 and below. Then we have 10, 20, 30, 40. 40%, which is getting up there being a little bit more confident. So that's really cool insight, isn't it? Yeah, because I agree. In my opinion, that's just risky business, what we just saw there. Anyway, let me just share screen again.
So, first thing we did was treat the ulcers. Dash had horrific ulcers, which I was aware of when I got him, and figured that was probably going to be quite a bit of the problem. Um, you know, I think sometimes we understand, yes, most racehorses have ulcers, but once they progress to being quite serious, grade 3 or 4, I don't think we quite realize how much that affects everything else that's happening. So got on top of that, started getting on top of his feet. You can see here when he came and got his shoes pulled off at the beginning, he was actually quite sore. So we had to then adjust for that and started getting a lot of body work because being an angry horse for so long, he was also, really tight all over. So we had all of these things happening that were then influencing each other. And as soon as that all got sorted, started to actually see what kind of horse Dash could be. Everything changed. He got a lot calmer and a lot easier to deal with. And most importantly, it gave him the space to then be able to start learning. I do want to clarify that it didn't just fix everything. He didn't become perfect just because of that, but it did allow him to be in a place where he could start to learn and work through all the other issues he had.
Yeah, so basically, if you hadn't done that and we just launched into the program, we would have been really up against a lot because the poor guy was just so uncomfortable and struggling that he had no capacity to learn, which is what's needed to be, successful with training. That has to be done first. All righty, next. Okay, then I met you.
Yes.
I met you. I met Izzy through Tammy El Kayam bodywork clinic that Tammy El Kayam had come to Australia, and Izzy and I have been working through her program. So I met Izzy there. However, I first got to meet Izzy horse-wise when she came to one of my clinics in Nabiac. And this is Izzy riding Dash at the clinic. Now, Izzy, why did you come along to my clinic?
Because I was stalking you. Um, but I knew that I had the skills to manage these horses, but I knew I was missing something, especially a framework. I was really good at managing situations as they popped up, calming a horse down again. But I didn't actually have a way to work through a lot of the problems. It was just my skill kept the situation manageable. But I was noticing as a retrainer, what I could do with a horse, I couldn't get repeated with somebody that I then gave the horse to. And I really wanted to find a simple step-by-step program that I could use that meant what I did could then be replicated by anybody else with the horse.
Yeah. Well, what I saw watching you ride was super interesting. I saw you as an incredibly talented rider. You had exceptional skill on board. You had great timing and feel, but you also had super athleticism. So when Dash would look like launch around the place, it didn't unseat you. it didn't really bother you. I could see that it was just a bit annoying, but you go, he just does this for a while and just got to do a few transitions before he gets good, you know. And I saw you had extraordinary balance in the saddle, so it put you there. Plus, also your background as being someone that was used to these antics, which was kind of funny because at the clinic, I have a lot of people that are the exact opposite that are building their skills up. You know, like them, everyone watching you was a bit like, oh, okay. So it was really, you know, the diversity of my beautiful client base that comes. So what I saw was a horse that could be greatly improved by building a more solid foundation. That's what I saw was missing. And this would make Dash a lot more easy and predictable and reliable to ride, and then also be able to be ridden by other people. Like, you know, it's like that day, if you said, "So, Shelley, would you like to get on a ride?" I go like, "No way, man. Nope." You know, like, no, I don't ride that. I fix that. You know, that needs to be fixed. We need to do some work on the ground, and then we'll go up. Anyway, that is what I saw, and so it was super cool to work with you, and it was just like, great. I got to work with you and show you what I know, and you've just like taken it on board, and you've really got a fabulous combination of skills now, which is really super. So this photograph here was taken on the first day of rebooting Dash, which was in October 2024. And this was also the first day that we really started collaborating and putting on the table what each of us had to bring. So, a horse that understands what's been asked is the horse that can become confident in what they expect, and then they can relax. That was very important. So I've got a proven process that I take a lot of pride in making sure that I test it and that I know I can get lasting results by teaching the person to train the horse and giving the person the skill to be able to do it. And then for that, also that solid foundation on the horse is what sets them up to really flourish. So it's a really powerful thing to put on a horse, is a real solid foundation. And that is a real powerful skill set. However, and I love this picture because Dash is a windsucker. Now, I was able to capture lots of little snippets from Isabelle because Isabelle's just so full of expertise. And you told me about things that I didn't even know from inside the industry, your observations, your insights, connections to things. It was really, really cool. And this one here, I think you were telling me about windsucking. Do you want to give us a quick rundown on what you remember about that conversation?
Well, I think, number one, a lot of racehorses windsuck as an anxiety coping mechanism, and we all know that. But what I find is the more you can, work on the gut, work on the anxiety once they're out of that situation, often it gets a lot better, and you can use that wind sucking as a sign of what's going on, especially in
Mm.
the gut, because you'll find they get a lot better. Then you start working them, and when you bring them up, they're fine in the paddock, but they'll wind suck when they've come up, or you'll take them away to a competition for the weekend, which is often a time that, ulcers can flare up, or you can have, other things go wrong with the gut, and then they come home and all of a sudden they're wind sucking again. So wind sucking can be a real barometer for how the horse
Mm.
is feeling. And as you go through the course, often it will, the wind sucking will get less and less as they get more relaxed. And again, they become confident in what to expect and what's happening, so they don't have that anxiety all the time.
Yeah, and I have to say, this has been the only time I ever saw Dash Windsuck was on day one, which
Mm.
was very cool. All right, guys. So this is our program. This is all the steps we kind of work through of things to actually do with the horse. Now, if you have a perfect life and a perfect situation with perfect weather, and it doesn't rain too much, it's not a heat wave, you don't get sick or whatever. This you can work through in 8 weeks. This is kind of what I recommend. People want to know, how long does it take? I said, well, if you nutted down, you had everything perfect, it would be 8 weeks. Perfect doesn't happen though. It is a good thing to aim for, but things happen. And even with Dash, working through it with Izzy, we had lots of things happening, especially the place being underwater. I think it's completely unseasonal amounts of rain during this period of time. And then when it became summer, it became screamingly hot. And then combined with lots of rain as well, it was really insane. So this is the 8-week schedule that I have, which is kind of good to kind of stick to and have in your mind. But we do want to put up front that things happen, and it has to you got to be flexible, of course, with time. Especially like lots of people working through it discover, because the process is really good of identifying soundness issues and things like that. Sometimes you got to step back, do a bit of rehab with that, and then carry on. But these are all the steps here that we work through. Now, it starts here on the ground. Here, you're catching your hold, you're leading. If you watch Worried Horse, we talked about how it's all these little things before getting in the saddle, which are so vastly important to emptying the horse's worry cup, so they've got a greater capacity to cope. So you're not getting that bucking and stuff under saddle being triggered, because they've got a greater capacity to cope. So what I'm going to present coming up, what we're going to present is snippets of Dash, video of Dash at different stages through this. So what you're going to see is Dash starting off in the round yard. Now, you work on these kind of things all at once. I don't have footage of every single little bit. So I just took the real snapshot of the real core exercises here. You're going to see some backward forward yield. You're going to see him round penning. You're going to see some lateral flexion. You're going to see some lunging circles. You're going to see some mounting block standing. You're going to see some mounting, some ridden lateral flexion, and some bends to a stop and bends to a walk, and the vertical flexions. You're going to see a lot. I've picked those ones out to show you. And you're kind of working on all these kind of things at once. But what I did to try to show you each step and how he progresses and has got better and better, I've kind of just stuck them all together. But, it's almost like I could give you this video of all the exercises going together. But I thought I'd just try to do this just so you can see the changing him just within an exercise, because we kind of don't progress on until the exercise before has got really good. That's the whole key to it. You really want to get the quality, like a really good. So I normally work on round penning and backward forward yield kind of at the same time, and leading at the same time. And I'm not bothering to go to just say anything outside, like some lunging circles, until I've got round penning really good. That kind of sets you up. And then, of course, I'm not going to think about getting on their back until they can do all their groundwork really good wearing the saddle. All right. Anyway, let's cut to the chase and have a look. So this first video is my first session with Izzy, working in the round yard, doing round penning with Dash. Now, can you please note, people have ideas. There's round penning there's many methods out there, and people have in their head that it's some like thing where you chase horses around and throw things at them and get their respect. It's like, no, as you can see, there's no chasing that goes on here. It's a very measured, strategic thing we're doing in the round yard. However, I've got to say up front, if you don't have a round yard, it doesn't matter. You don't have to start here. It just is a great place to start. It's my ideal place. If you don't start here, of course, you're going to start with lunging circles. Anyway, but let's have a look at a quick snapshot from Dash's first session, okay? So this is Dash's first session with me coaching Izzy, and you're going to see the odd reactive behaviour like there, okay? And also a real struggle to be able to canter on the left lead, because Dash was a racehorse in New South Wales, so they all race right. So the left rein was really tricky for him. So you can see him here struggling to get that right lead. Now, round penning's where we sort that out. So a whole lot of people riding their horses, the race horses, they're off the trackers, that struggle with being able to get a lead. It's just like, I sort it out in here. We work on that balance here. Okay, now we progress. So here's progression, and we can note here the puddles because it has started raining by this stage. So Izzy, I'll let you just have a bit of a look at this one. So what are we seeing here?
So yeah, here we are now on the right leg. And I think, I will just say quickly too that when I came to this, I had done a lot of the whole natural horsemanship thing many years ago when it all became big. And I'd got away from all of this because of the whole chasing them round the round yard
Yeah.
thing. So and I did a lot of breakers when I was working with the racehorses. And it was really just you put them in the round yard until they sort of stopped freaking out. And then you put a saddle on and then you got riding, and that was kind of like a
Mm.
4-day process.
Yeah.
Um, so here where we actually go around until they're doing everything right, and, he's here with the saddle on and there's no stress and he's bouncing off on the right lead really nicely and he's not throwing his head. The fact that you're actually nailing it, getting it all, like you say, you want it where you'd be happy to ride it before you get on and ride it
Yeah. That's
was
that. That's
quite
so
a
easy.
revelation, not just doing it for the sake of doing it to make sure you're not gonna die, and then
Mhm.
carrying on and trying to fix everything while you're on. Like, this is much easier, and why you want to actually have it nailed down before you move on to the next step.
Yeah. So this is, the round yard progressing, him to be able to do it without a saddle, then with a saddle. But something very important here, I want you to, I'm just going to rewind. Can I rewind it? No, I might have to just wait for it to start again. But just watch how he's responding. So watch how Izzy just s- gently raises her hand and bang, he transitions to canter. So she's not having to warn him, kiss to him, or use the whip. He's just going off the signal, the cue, the aid, because everything we want the horses to go off the aid, not have to be warning them and threatening them with whips or things like this. I mean, it's just beautiful. And one of our markers is so that him going off the aid and how he's going is what we would describe as calm yet responsive. Okay. Not dull and lazy or reactive and electric. Okay. He's calm yet responsive. And also another measure, I've got a few measures that I make you look at so you know when should I progress. We've got markers for that we've recorded. And one of them is, does that look like a horse I'd like to ride? Does that look like a horse I'd like to ride? And if it is, it's like, well, there's the evidence. Let's progress. Okay. All right. Now we've got the first, just pause it for a sec. So this is Dash's first backward forward yield. Okay. And we'll be able to see how he progresses here. So let's just watch. So Dash is very distracted. As you can see, he's outside of the round yard. He's actually calling out there. Izzy's doing some wrangling, but we're just working on one step. As the session went on, he got a little bit better. But you can see him kicking out there. That was a classic Dash move. Just irritated by a fly and irritated. That was his fly thing. Yeah, irritated by the flies. You can see that as yeah, stressed. Uh, it's just messy. Okay, so backward forward here is like basically it's it's recalibrating the halter, getting them really good with backing up off the halter, getting really good with coming forward, and then yielding. And so you can see he's calling out again there. So he's doing it, but it's not with us. It's not following. You have to escalate. It's messy, but it's the start. And the important thing we got to understand is when you start, it starts messy. Okay. And you got to work through that. So here's the hindquarter yield. So now I'll go on and I'll show you how he progressed. Okay. Different horse now. Okay. You see he's more with us, more with Izzy, softer back up. Okay. Softer yield. So Izzy's actually doing a backup yield forward. She's just reversing the backward forward yield a bit, but he stops nice here. So that's really lovely work. So we can just play that again. You can see that's a lot different than the horse that we had. So this is progression. This is practice. This is, working through that. I think at this time he'd been doing round penning and these types of things head down, and we got a whole lot of other little things that we put in there as well, but that's what he'd been doing. Now, this day that I came out, I'm just going to go to the next slide. This is this here, we started lunging. Now, my ultimate place to start lunging, if you've got a round yard, is in the round yard. But the round yard this day was underwater. So we had to go into the arena, which drained a hell of a lot better. So this is why we're here. Anyway, this is me chipping away at Dash's lunging. So it's first time kind of we put him on the lunge from going through our process. So we got the round yard pretty good. And so we started off the lunging. So the first thing we want is a send response. So you'll see me just work on that. I want him to go off that cue. He doesn't respond because he doesn't understand. And I just gently touch him with the whip. Thoroughbreds are wonderful. You don't need a lot of pressure to motivate them. And see how he goes off my cue then? No whip. Beautiful. So just chipping away at that response. It's all part of how it's done. Now he needs to trot by lifting my hand, but he doesn't. I had to click then. Then, yeah, wiggle the rope. That's something else to do. You've got to learn to be able to control or push a horse away with direct pressure and indirect pressure. So here is now Dash is anticipating, really common thing, and of course when correct that he gets very reactive and anticipating and reactive and big, and just you can see me just dealing with that now. Of course, he got anticipating. I just went into desensitizing, which is another one of our exercises. Very good for a horse that's anticipating. You're seeing me here. I'm doing what I call just chipping away at the responses. Just a bit of desensitizing then was able to stop his anticipating.
So yeah, I think this too, it's what this is really showing, which I think was a lot of my issue before I started with this. And what is really common is, like I said, I was very good at keeping them below threshold. So just avoiding getting them this upset.
Yeah.
So they don't actually learn to work through it. Whereas you can see here in this process, he is very upset, and it would be easy to say, right, well, he doesn't really like lunging. We'll put that aside until later.
Yeah. Well,
But
watch.
I'm addressed it.
I'm about to ask him to canter, so he's going to get very upset in a second. But I that was really lovely what he did then. But yes, as Izzy was very much into keeping everything under threshold. When I'm like, no, let's set them up to learn. They've got to work through the messy. So here we go. Here's me asking him to canter on the lunge, and of course I had, and we get this, and we get very upset. But this is all these skills that is all what you learn and develop here through the course. And you can see how I'm not chasing him. I'm not getting aggressive. I'm just chipping away. Just come on, buddy. I just need him to go that way. There he goes. Okay, just running with it. Okay, and then I ask him again because got to work through the messy middle. Okay. But a lot of people just start walk and trot, and you could do that for days or weeks before you popped in canter. And as I said, if you're able to do this in the round yard and you've got the horse going really well in the round yard, that can make a massive difference to that. Now this is Izzy. Izzy's got him now, and you'll see that this is just working with him. This is just one session we worked with him. So we're working through. You saw him at the start and working through the messy, and then Izzy's got him now, and we've been working with him for a little while. And see how already it's better? Just keeping it really simple. We're not making him keep cantering. We just want the transition to canter. That's all. Getting him. This is called my follow the field. This is called lunging circles and following the field to a stop. It's a very simple way of lunging and stopping. Now we progress on from that. So Izzy, this is you. And obviously summer because you're in your shorts. So the round yard's still underwater though from memory. Because it had so much rain. So here we go. It's just nice. You can see.
So yeah, here too, just where if you don't have a round yard, I'm working in the corner of the arena that's got two really solid walls to help. And, I ask him for that canter where we've got, walls in the corner. So if you don't have the round yard, you can also find places to help,
Yeah.
set things up.
Yeah, yeah. And even this could be a little bit more. We'll see. You can see I've got another. Do I? Can't remember if I put it in, but you can see here. There's just a little bit of a head shake when he goes into Canada. So it's just a little bit of tension there. These are all things we look for, and we want to smooth them out because they all mean something. Here we go. So I did. I knew I put another one in. So this is now Dash. He'd had a lot of training under his belt here that was quite solid, but I wanted to do a video showing people how to use a flag. Anyway, you got to think of, remember Dash that was all upset and launching himself around and quite tense? Well, this is Dash kind of now. Okay. So you saw in that past video, just he was doing everything. He was lovely, but there was just a little bit of a head shake, a little bit of tension there still. Now you can have a look at what he's like now. Different boy, different horse. So, all that tension's out of him now. I'm
You
going to
can
show
also
you.
see the change in his body shape now, where he actually looks like a horse, and he's got some actual, strength over his back from all this work that he's done. And
Yeah.
that's another thing. This will build up the muscles so you have a horse that's ready to ride just by going through the steps.
Yeah. But everything I'm doing here, I'm not having to click or use the whip or anything like that because he just really understands. He understands, so he's got clarity and he's motivated to respond and he's confident at it. So you can see his worry cup is empty. His chances of spooking at something are way smaller because he's more chilled. People always want to know how to handle, or my horse spooks at this, my horse spooks at that. They're worried about this. They get hot during jumping or, with other horses around. How do I fix it? And they want things to do right then. They don't see that it's actually emptying the worry cup completely, makes them a completely different creature that can cope a lot better. Now we go on to, I'll just pause that for a sec, lateral flexion. So all this starts off on the ground. The lateral flexion all relates to, it all feeds in to their steering and their contact. Now, Dash had troublesome contact. And the first signs of why he had issues with his contact came from lateral flexion. And we'll actually have a look here. I'll talk through it. So Dash is going to be doing something that's not that shows that he has a problem with his steering. First of all, see this? This is anticipating. He's what I call targeting. See that? What he's doing there is a type that I call targeting. He's anticipating I'm going to pick up that rein, and he thinks that just means put your head around and touch me. See that? It's called targeting. Horses that do that inevitably can have problems with understanding the bit or following pressure because they don't get this bit. They think if you just move the hand, whole flexion means just turning your head around. It doesn't mean following the pressure, following the feeling of the bit or the halter, etc. The other issue with this here, besides the fact he's targeting, is because he's not flexing correctly at all. He's neck twisting. See this? This is neck twisting. That is not how you want a horse to steer or bend. They're not going to actually be necessarily well controlled. They're definitely not going to go in a circle well. They're going to fall out one way and probably fall in the other. A whole lot of problems with this. They're not going to develop normally either. They'll develop with asymmetry. So my next video here, I'll show you, I actually go about this day, I went about fixing it. How do I fix it? So I had to reteach him where to actually bend from. So here's me helping him out, learning to bend and just chipping away at it, learning to bend from his pole, not neck twist. So super interesting. I'm just doing little releases and I want his ears level because I was showing what he does. I want his ear level. And here I chipped away until watch this change. there at the right spot, not neck twisting. So we can just watch that again because it's super interesting. Have to do this a lot. You know, off the track horses, standardbreds especially, can be super stiff with this. They can be super resistant and super bracy. They normally need a lot of work in this department as well. Just getting this really good improves them out of sight. So this is a massive change here. And you can see that I've taken a rein or the rope and I clip it to the side of the head, not under the jaw, because that can increase chances of neck twisting. All right, hope this is being really interesting, guys. All right, now here we go. Lateral flexion progressing into the actually to the mounting block with the saddle on. So here it is, same side that was troublesome, and you can see he's still flexing in the correct way from the mounting block now. So we're progressing that same response with the saddle on into the saddle. Now, Dash here is bitless. My recommendation is to get the bit out of the mouth and actually reboot bitless and then put the bit back in. That's what we did with Dash. However, if you want to just start off with a bit, there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just if you do have a horse that has contact issues, it can actually be a game changer to get the bit out of their mouth. I know everyone thinks that bits are what cause, control. In fact, a lot of the time they're actually causing most of the trouble. So getting them out, you see there's a different horse. Now, this is mounting, getting on at the mounting block, and this was so cool. This was such a revelation, Izzy, when you actually showed me. So you can see the agitation of Dash, and here's you showing me the impact of the trigger of the off the tracker with stirrups. Okay, foot in the stirrups. So when you put the foot in the stirrups, you can see Dash's anxiety goes up, and as soon as you take them out, so feet in, feet out. I'll just play that again when it comes through. You can see it. And Izzy, you tell everyone that what you told me.
So yeah, with these guys, quite often because you're riding with short stirrups at the track, you ride down to the track with a loose rein, your feet out of the stirrups. When it's time to go, you shorten the reins, you put your feet in the stirrups, and then you work off. So quite often in the beginning, shortening the reins or putting your feet in the stirrups, either one is kind of telling them that it's time to go, time to canter. So it can often, you actually have to change that association with them.
No, it's super interesting. So that was mounting to begin with. So just getting on and off, on and off, on and off until you got it super solid. So here's how solid it got. So remember that horse was kind of agitated? Look at it now. Izzy's the master of getting thoroughbred horses that are not good with mounting to stand rock solid. Look how solid that is. That's a safe horse to get on. And this is so important. If your ride starts off that you're having to throw yourself on or wrangle on, or you've got just like even the other one with Dash really was standing pretty still, but you could see him bubbling with anxiety. You're taking that into your nice walk around the arena, or you're taking that into your jump round or your club activity that you're at. And it's just like, that's why it's going to go pear-shaped, because the horse is bubbling with stuff already. That horse right there in that video, that horse is solid. Look at him. And that was a lot of really great work. Okay, moving on now to the lateral flexion under saddle. So this is Dash's first lateral flexions under saddle, and he couldn't stand still. Okay, he had to learn to stand still. Thoroughbreds, really common. When things are new or a bit stressed, they want to move. So we had to teach him to stand still. And how do you do it? You just keep repeating it till they stand still. So bending around. So you've got the lateral flexion really good on the ground, good on the mounting block, and you got the horse good standing still at the mounting block. Then you're getting on and you're asking that same response. And you're releasing when all 4 feet are still and they're waiting. So that's a beautiful example there of Izzy just waiting until Dash was paused. So here he is, progressed on a bit now, and, he's just going to move a little bit, but you can see his anxiety's now a little lower, it's less bubbly, Still moving though. Okay. Still moving. So let's progress on. So still struggling to stand still, but let's have a look at now. Different horse. Okay.
So, yeah, I think we also have to mention here, like we did with King the other day, they don't have to move. They're kinesthetic learners. They like to move and
Mm-hmm.
they're taught to run, and that gets, when you run hard, it releases a lot of endorphins. So they feel calmer afterwards and they have exhaustion, the same as when you do a lot of exercise.
Mm.
So, to them, moving is a good thing and it's what they're trained to do,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have to be that way. It's, almost every single horse that I've worked with can become this rock solid. It's this myth that just because they're a racehorse, they won't stand still. Like they absolutely can.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
does take work and it takes, progressive work, but they absolutely can
Mm.
stand nice and calmly.
Yeah, absolutely. So here he is now. We're transitioning him back to the bit. He's been ridden bitless, carrying a bit around, without having to be worked off it, and now putting the bit back in and just doing the lateral flexion with him. So now off the bit, and also like really beautiful responses. Nice. See, he's nice. He's following the hand. He's not whipping his head around. He's not resisting. It's just nice. And he's really anchored to the ground. So, really lovely response. Now, we go back in time again and go, okay, with the foundation under saddle work, I do to start with a lot of bending to a stop or bending to work. Bending to a stop and bending to walk. Okay, so here is, I skipped the walk, bend to a stop. I decided to show you what happened. This is all on a loose rein, no bit in his mouth, and you ask him to trot. And you can see he goes and he leaps up into trot. It's all big and he gets all unbalanced and dysregulated. And then we just repeat that, repeat that, repeat that. Because this is how you mitigate risk. You just target one small thing. So this was just targeting one small step of trot. So this is where his trot started. So you can see the first trot under saddle on a loose rein, working through the process. Okay, he'd nailed walk. He'd nailed lateral flexion. He'd nailed walk. Now we're going to ask him to trot. And that was all we did. One step. That's all you do. And then you bend him down again. Okay. Flex him down and then just chill. These are not one rein stops. These are bending to a stop. Just using one rein. Not picking up two, just working on what's called the lateral frame of the horse. And just waiting till he chills. Waiting to get a bit of a focus on us. Two things we teach in training, which is wait and focus. There. And this is how he was after we repeated a number of times. You can see he stopped leaping and now he's just doing a gentle little trot because he's anticipating the downward transition, which is exactly what we want him to do. Lovely. Okay, so that's where he started under saddle when we rebooted him. Now let's look how good he got. Okay, I always call this progression because you're always working on it. So now we can do walk, trot, and canter, and we can even go walk to canter. So this is what this is just going through his paces just to show. So this is just a demonstration of how good he's got and how calm he is. So we'll take him up into canter. So we can do walk, trot, and canter. Nice, relaxed, lopey canter. Hand out to the side, bend him down all the way to walk and just relax it out. That's what we want to do. So his ability to be able to regulate himself, regulate the stress from going up into a trot, into a canter, come down into a relaxed walk. That's what we want. That's a horse that's now in a good mental and physical place, an emotional place that we can put under more high demand and start training to a high level. But this is what a foundation is. That was the first time we asked him to go straight into canter from a walk. And he was like, oh, okay. And he did it, bless him. He did that. He did that pretty well, and then down to walk, and back down to chill. So Isabel, could Dash do that before?
No,
Before he
and
was good at
especially like a walk to canter transition would have caused an absolute explosion in the
yeah,
and, then having him come back down to a walk and to stand there on a loose rein, wouldn't have happened. You could have got him to a canter, but you couldn't have done it like that on a loose
yeah.
rein.
Would have been a bit messy. So here is his harder rein for him, which of course is his left rein. He's not as good as it's not as balanced because of his asymmetry caused by his racing. And here we go. I think what do we oh no, we go back and I ask here. So this was a really good walk to count. This is on his stronger side. So let's see how he goes straight into it. That was very cool. And then down into walk, just trying to see if we can get him to how quickly we can get him down and just relax. Love that. Love that. Loose rein, no bit in his mouth. Very, very cool. Great riding. All right, now, just to finish off with, we just have a little bit of a look at the building, the contact and connection through the body, which is all about now building. Now we've got the solid foundation of being handled great on the ground, handling things good on the ground, walk, trot, canter on a loose rein, supple, okay, can go up and down transitions. Now we put the bit back in, and now we need to teach the actual bit responses, which are normally missing in our off the track horses. They definitely don't have a vertical flexion response, and they can have very funky feelings about the bit. So here I'm just going to play it and we can just run through it. Now, notice we have no noseband on, no noseband. We're not making it easier for ourselves. We want to see exactly what Dash is saying. So that was his vertical flexion response. So when you pick up both reins, I want the horse to learn to follow the rein back. And to start with, keep it easy for him. This low pole, coming back, soften, we release the reins. It's real chipping away at it. Really getting him to really understand that's the right response that we want. So I want him to follow the rein back, and then when he gets softened, we let it out and we're encouraging this stretch, this like seeking response as he goes down into like a free walk kind of transition. This is what we're going to build on because eventually that becomes contact when the horse is seeking into the bit. So here we do, we had got it up in walk, we're just doing it for little moments of him being able to do and holding him for longer and longer periods as his confidence grew. But again, we doesn't ask just want letting him out, letting him stretch. So in walk, it's like a free walk transition into a free walk transition, a medium walk, free walk transition. If you're hearing me in dressage terms, in trot, we're basically getting him to soften and then going into like a stretchy trot kind of circle as well. And yes, he's a little bit, but goes a little bit behind the vertical, but that can all be fixed. That all gets fixed by a little bit more impulsion and being able to connect through his body. So it's still in the messy development stages, but you can see this horse is chilled. This horse is like learning, he's trying, he's not been overruled, and we're keeping him where he's at, and just chipping away at him as he increases his ability to be able to do that. So beautiful horse from those first videos you saw of him until now. It's a very, very cool thing. Now, Izzy, very cool horse. So tell us a little bit about what Dash is like now in terms of
So
him.
yeah, like I think the main thing that I was saying to you was, working with Dash now, I always liked him, but I liked his potential. Now, every time I work with him, he just brings me joy. He's such a smart horse. He's really lovely to work with. And he's just, he's fun and he's a partner. So you can take him out riding. We're doing horse archery. He's my horse mounted archery. And honestly, he's one of the best behaved horses at the clinics, over even your stock horses and stuff. And yeah, he's a real joy to have around and a joy to
Mhm.
ride.
Yeah, it's very cool. However, it's a bit of a frustrating thing, the next photograph, because what happened to him, is he?
So Christmas Eve, he got caught up in a fence all night. Somehow didn't lose. We very nearly lost him altogether.
Mm,
Uh, and he tore right through both legs, basically. And he's just come back into work this last week from that.
yeah, bless him.
So that's why we don't have any finishing video on Dash
Yeah.
because
Yeah, I had to toss up what photograph to put up with, and the others were so gory and graphic that I chose this one, the poor boy. I'm so glad he's come back though, and he's doing well.
But
But we're just going.
this is what happens when you get thoroughbreds who don't actually really know what living in the real world is like.
Yeah.
Quite often he was in a big 150-acre paddock, and sometimes, when they've come from being racehorses,
Hmm.
they just don't quite get that.
Yes, no, it's a bit of a pain. So we've got an intensive coming up. It's 8 weeks. This is what we're going to work. This is going to be our program we are aiming for. That's what it will be. It's in weeks, but you just stick to where you're up to. And there's, you get longer. I think you get 18 months to go through the program, and longer if you need it. You just send me a message. So what do you do to be part of our Racehorse to Riding Horse Off the Track Reboot? It's 8-week intensive. Or you can just go self-paced, and you just go to our website. It's got links there to get the course. You can buy as a one-off, or you can you can do it in payments. You can then go and download the app. You can look at it just off the computer, just off a normal website. But I do have an app which can be helpful, which you can access the app, and where we give you feedback and everything is from the community forum connected to that. So we guide you all the way. We're here to answer your questions, look at videos, give you feedback. It is very helpful. Now, if you've got any questions, please feel free to write them in the Q&A box. We'll keep the webinar going for a little bit longer afterwards in case you've got any Q&A. Please make sure you put your email address there as well, so we can get back to you on that one there if we don't have time to answer it. Yeah. So,
And we have the group, and we also have an actual page now as well. Racehorse to Riding Horse Facebook page, and we have the Facebook group where you can ask questions and be part of the community as well.
yeah. So there's a Racehorse to Riding Horse page. Please follow that. Racehorse to Riding Horse, the group, please join that. That's where we will interact with the world. Thank you so much for joining us. As I said, if you want to hear more about us or find out about our program, you can go and ask on our social pages, or you can go to racehorse2ridinghorse.com.au. We've got a contact form there, or you can just email or message us. Anyway, we hope that's been super inspiring. So I guess, Izzy, got to ask the final question. Was Dash dangerous or misunderstood? What do you reckon, or neither? Or
I think he was
temporarily
very misunderstood, poor man. Possibly temporarily dangerous, but very much misunderstood, I think. And, he's a very common story for off the trackers.
Yeah, definitely. All righty, friends. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for joining us, Iz, and we'll see you later, and we'll be doing something else soon. Okay, see you. Bye.